Okay, on question number 2, or 12, I'm sorry. Remember, to solve an absolute value equation, the first thing you do is you isolate the absolute value. You got to get the absolute value by itself first. So notice we're multiplying the absolute value by 2, so I'm going to divide both sides by 2. So then we get the absolute value of x over 2 plus 3 equals 1/2. Now, to get rid of the absolute value, that's where we make our two cases. I'm going to say, x over 2 plus 3 equals 1/2. Or, we're going to say x over 2 plus 3 equals negative 1/2. Because the two numbers that have an absolute value of 1/2 are going to be 1/2 and negative 1/2. That's where we get our two cases from. Now I'm going to solve the one on the left. I'm going to clear my fractions. So I have a denominator of 2, so I'm going to multiply everything by 2. So notice we get x plus 2 times 3 is 6 equals 1. Finally, let's subtract 5 from both sides. And we get x equals negative 4. We'll do the same thing on the right hand, on the left, on my right side of my OR here. I'll multiply everything by 2. So then we're going to get x plus 6 equals negative 1. Because my 2's reduce, and that's how we get our 6 there. And then we'll subtract 6 from both sides. And it turns out x is negative 7. So there are our two answers. Negative 4 and negative 7. And then what we do is on our, really? One minus 5 is negative 4. Why did I say negative 5? Oh, am I dumb? See that? I subtract 6 from both sides. Not 5. Sorry about that. So then 1 minus 6 is indeed negative 5. Can we get to work myself? So we get negative 7 and negative 5. And then make a number line and put a point on negative 7 and negative 5. And there's your answer. Okay, in 14, we have Abigail's problem here. It says she invested money in the stock market. It went up by 20%. Then she paid her stockbroker $300. She lost another $450. She withdrew $500. And then her investment doubled. And now it's worth $7,100. Question is, how much do we start with? Well, there's so much going on here. I think it's easier to work backwards than to try to write an equation, especially with that doubling part, because we have to double the whole expression at that point. Let's just work backwards. So what happens here, we know she ended up with $7,100. She got that $7,100 by doubling her account. So the opposite of doubling, I'm going to divide that by 2. So 7,100 divided by 2 is 3,550. So she had 3,550 before she doubled her account. Then she had withdrawn $500. So the opposite of withdrawn $500, we're going to put $500 back into her account. So she had $4,050 before she withdrew her 500. And then she had lost 450. So let's add 450 on to her account. So 4050 plus 450 is 4500. And then she had paid her stockbroker $300. So I better go back and run out of room here. So I'm going to put this in the next line. So she had 4,500 after she paid her stockbroker. So before she paid her stockbroker, better add that $300 in there, huh? So she had $4,800 before she paid her stockbroker. And then she got this by this account increased by 20%. Well, increase means I'm going to take my account, I'm going to multiply it by 1.2, so I'm going to divide by 1.2. And that's how much money she had to start with. So if I take 4,800 and I divide it by 1.2, she had $4,000 in her account to start with. And since it's a word problem, answer that in a complete sentence. We're going to say Abigail invested $4,000 to start with. Now, next question. Are these a proportion? Well, let's take 42 over 48 and let's reduce that. Notice, I think a 6 goes into both of those, isn't it? So I divide them both by 6. 42 divided by 6 is 7. 48 divided by 6 is 8. Now, does 63 over 72, does that reduce to 7/8? Well, notice I can divide numerator and denominator by 9. I get 7 over 8. So yes, it reduced. So that one is true. It's a proportion because they're equal. Taking a look at 16. We got this house that says, hey, 2 inches represents 8 feet. The width of a window is 2.5 inches on the blueprint. Notice I put 2.5 in my numerator because that's where my inches go. I want to know the actual width of the window. I'm going to call that x. So x is going to be the width of my window. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to make life easier. I'm going to reduce 2 and 8. 2 goes in 8 4 times. So I get 1 is to 4 as 2.5 is to x. Now, I could do algebra here, but I can also use equivalent fractions, because if I take 1 times 2.5, I get 2.5. So in other words, x then is 4 times 2.5. So 4 times 2.5 is 10. Now, 10 is not the correct answer. It's a word problem, so I want you to answer in a complete sentence, and don't forget the units. So the width of the window is going to be 10 feet. But you need to show your work of how you get that. No work, no credit. Okay, let's take a look at solving some more complex equations, more like equations we did this chapter. On this one, I've got 2 denominators, 4 and t minus 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to clear my fractions. I'm going to multiply both sides by 4 times t minus 2. So over here I'll go 4 times t minus 2. Now, on the left side, the t minus 2 is reduced. So what I'm really doing is that I'm going to take 4 times t plus 1. Equals, on the right side, the 4 is reduced, so really I just get t minus 2. Now let's distribute that 4 inside, that's why I use parentheses. So we get 4t plus 4 equals t minus 2. Well, I think I want to get all the t's on one side. I'm going to move the smaller t, so I'm going to subtract t from both sides. So we're going to get 3t plus 4 equals negative 2. Well, then I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. And I'm going to get 3t equals negative 6. Divide both sides by 3. T equals negative 2. Must have miscopied this problem, or this solution. When I did this myself, I typed in the wrong answer. So the correct answer is t equals negative 2. Just showed you that, because we take 4 times t plus 1. I want to make sure I didn't make a mistake there. And then equals t minus 2. And so 4 minus 1 is 3, and that works out perfectly. So the correct answer is t equals negative 2. Now, over in 18, let's get all the y's on the same side first. So I think what we'll do is we'll add 2y to both sides. And that keeps things positive for me. So I get 6 equals 9y plus 13. Now we got a two-step equation. Minus 13 from both sides. And you get negative 7 equals 9y. Divide both sides by 9. Y equals negative 7 over 9. There's your answer. You can see why I type it in. My 9 looks like a 4, doesn't it? Okay, number 19. We're going to simplify each side of the equation first. I'm not going to look at the right side. I'm just going to simplify this side. So I'm going to distribute my 5 inside. So you get 35 minus 5a. Distribute by negative 3. I get negative 3a minus 12 minus 4. That's just that side. Now we can combine our like terms, because notice I can combine negative 5a minus 3a. I get negative 8a. And then we're going to take 35 minus 12. That will be 23. 23 minus 4 is 19. So I'll say plus 19. And I'm going to do a quick check with my calculator to make sure I didn't make a dumb error, because I chunked a lot of that at once, and that's correct. Now, let's go to the right side, and let's do the same thing. So I'm going to take 4 times a. I'll get 4a. 4 times negative 3 is negative 12 plus 7. Well, that simplifies to 4a minus 5. Now, let's move all the a's to one side. And I'll choose the side that makes them positive, so I'm going to add 8a to both sides. So I bring down the 19. 4a plus 8a is 12a minus 5. Then we'll add 5 to both sides. And 19 plus 5 is 24 equals 12a. Remember, we want to get the a by itself. Don't move the 24, move the 12. So we divide both sides by 12, and 2 equals a. I don't care if you write it as 2 equals a or a equals 2. That's all you have to do in that question. Okay, on number 20, we want to get x by itself. So once again, I'm going to remind myself I'm not going to move that x. I'm going to get rid of the addition and subtraction first. So the opposite of subtracting is adding. So I'm going to add n to both sides. Notice I can't add n and r. So say ax equals r plus n. And then to get a by itself, we divide to get x by itself, we divide both sides by a. So x equals r plus n all over a. And there's your answer for that one. Now if we take a look at 21 here, I want to get x by itself again. So the opposite of dividing is multiplying, so we're going to multiply both sides by r. So then I'm going to get 4x plus t equals yr. Get rid of the addition, so we're going to minus t from both sides. I'm going to put the t on the end here because it can't combine it. So then we're going to get 4x equals yr minus t. And then we divide both sides by 4. And so our correct answer is x equals yr minus t divided by 4. And there's your answer. Whoops.